Folks, my name's Joe Biden, and I used to be a county councilman. And I'm sure he's told you the story I heard that my time in the county council. You know, I don't know about you all, but commissioner, councilman, whichever your title is, you knock on the door and say, my name is Joe Biden, I'm a candidate for the county council. They look at you like, okay. When a constituent called, she said, I represented we have one county that has 60% of the state's population, and I represented a middle-class district to a working-class district where there was one very wealthy neighborhood. And I got a call one night. A woman said to me, obviously not of the same persuasion as I was politically, called me and said, there's a dead dog on my lawn. And I said, yes, ma'am. I said, have you called the county? He said, yes, they're not here. And I said, well, I'll get him in the morning. She said, I want it removed now. I pay your salary. So I went over. I picked it up. She said, I want it out of my front yard. I put it on her doorstep. But I've gotten much better since then. I used to give out my phone number. Can't do that anymore. They don't even allow me to have a phone anymore. But I also know you work often on the basis of what other people, where they've lost faith, they have faith, they lose faith in government, you're there. And why my first year in office, more jobs were created than ever any time in American history, 6.6 million jobs. And you. And folks, look, we had the strongest economic growth in nearly 40 years, 5.7% increase in the GDP. The unemployment rate dropped more than any time, any year in American history. You got to know how to know. I can take you into the greatest library in the world, the Library of Congress. You don't know how to read the card catalog, it's useless to you. You got to know how to know. So you're helping people know how to get into what they need. This is all about making sure people have more economic difficulty raising their families can finally get a benefit the wealthier people get, the tax burdens and the child tax credit. And capping and plugging tens of thousands of orphaned oil wells and gas wells that continue to spew methane, which is a deadly for the environment. Creating jobs as good as the folks who dug those wells in the first place. You know, how many times did you ride by a McDonald's parking lot in the middle of the pandemic and see people out there sitting, the mom and dad, tying into the network so their kids could do their homework remotely? This is the United States of America, for God's sake. I started the Cancer Moonshot, which I worked very hard on in the administration I served in last. I'm going to work like the devil to bring gas prices down. We're going to keep working to strengthen the supply chain to bring the cost of every good down, particularly food and automobiles. But you know the best news of all this? Nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in taxes for any of these services. We can do it without increasing the deficit. As a matter of fact, last year we reduced the deficit by $300 billion. But by passing the elements of the Build Back Better plan, which reduced the burden on families, I got a letter from 17 Nobel laureates came to me to say this plan, my plan, will ease long-term inflationary pressures. But let's keep building back better. We're the only country in the world where whatever crisis we've gone through, we've ended up on the other side better off than we were before we got into the crisis. We're the only one. Look, I'm a capitalist. I think you should be able to go out and make $1 million or $1 billion if you have the capability. But just pay a little bit. Pay your fair share. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. And that's why we're getting so much support for the things we're doing. We can do this. We can do this by reasserting who in God's name we are. The United States of America. There's nothing, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, There's nothing beyond our capacity. There's nothing we cannot do. This is the United States of America. You can make $1 million and still pay your fair share, and everybody. When have you ever seen, I was talking to somebody, I said, you know, you go through, I'm a neighboring state of New Jersey from Delaware. My area is down by the shore. You ride through an intersection where there's a big circle and 4 or 5 roads coming off of it. And usually in the middle of that circle, there's you can plant trees and flowers and the like. I can tell you the communities, and I said this to somebody, and then they showed me a study that was true. I can tell you whether the community is as renters or owners. When they're owners, that middle circle is beautiful. It's planted. When they're renters, they're not. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with renting, but it means engaging in the community.